Shared. I'll be talking about the user experience of graffiti. You're probably thinking like, how are we going to make this connection? I mean, graffiti is pretty much primitive. I mean, it's basically the same as cavemen, doing rock paintings, same principle. I mean, I think as humans, we have this innate nature of like leaving our mark, and that's basically what graffiti is. So let me just get into it. And okay, next. Okay, here we go. Let me tell you about myself. So my name is Quasiem. I've been working in graphic design and illustration for about 20 years. Worked across streetwear. I've made 90,000 logos bigger. I have a passion for bikes. I love creating characters. Like I said, we've worked in magazines for a very long time for titles like GQ, Men's Health, and a few others. And I've grown quite passionate with NPO work. So a lot of like social development projects, it's especially in the last 10 years. But something that has been very separate from my professional work has been graffiti. So I've been painting graffiti for longer than I've been a graphic designer, pretty much. It's taken me on many adventures and allowed me to meet a lot of talented people. Yeah, it's something that's been part of my life for a long time. And I feel like I'm in a graffiti anonymous um, meeting here because like I've never publicly like admitted this, but yeah, I am talking about something that's been very private that only like a few of my friends or people that were close to me knew that I engaged with. So you're probably wondering like, what is the graffiti experience? And yeah, I'm sharing it to you. In order to understand everything I'm going to talk about, you do have to understand the experience. So I narrowed it down to a few things, right? It's like super triggering, obviously. There's a big sense of community, a whole lot of vandalism. It's always underground. It's exciting. It's unapologetic. At times it can be dangerous. There's a whole like real culture around it. I mean, since the 70s. I mean, some people will say 60s, late 60s. I mean, but I believe it's been around forever. As when we could pick up something and make a mark, that existed. That's why I mentioned like cavemen and things like that. I mean, it's a way of documenting culture and times basically. It's a whole lot of fun. We're a bit of a secret society. It's super illegal, especially in Cape Town for the past like I'd say 15 years. A lot of my friends that partake in it are super creative. They're either tattoo artists now, designers, illustrators, UX designers, UI designers, motion graphic. I mean, a lot of artists, so super expressive and ego driven. Like that's a big one. But the big common denominator is like authenticity. Like it's the most authentic and honest like art movement. I feel I might be biased here, but it has been the biggest art movement a man has ever like. I might be biased on that too. Experienced. It's always growing. So yeah. Um, so who is the user? I think that's an important part as well of this talk. It's basically the core user is someone that likes to identify themselves as a graffiti writer. Why do they call themselves a graffiti writer? Is because they write names, they write their monikers on anything and everything. They're usually anonymous, rebellious, slightly antisocial. I think that's debatable. I mean, okay, I got a typo there, but like you get it, antisocial, but I feel that's social when it comes to the community again. Super creative, opinionated, bit of an egomaniac, and highly competitive. So it's like one of the worst users you could ever like target, pretty much. But I mean, if you're immersed in this culture, it's something that you're familiar with and you know how to move and operate in it. So in 2019 is when my professional graffiti career, no, my professional career and graffiti career kind of like merged. with two friends, we came together and basically had a discussion on where graffiti was in 2019. So I don't know, this might be new to a lot of people, but in 2010, when we had the World Cup, a graffiti bylaw was passed specifically in the Western Cape, where they deemed every like form of like public visual and public art illegal unless it had a permit. So you had to go through this like hectic process of having government signing off your little artwork. You have to send it, submit it, and they'll have a look at it. And all these like departments had to sign this off, and you can finally get your permit after like 3 to 6 months, and you can paint your little picture on a wall. Homeowners pre 2010, homeowners offered their walls like super quick to you, it was super easy. So after 2010, they said, look, if you're a homeowner, you'll be fine, the artist will be fine. And after a few offenses, there's also jail time. So, which I felt like quite ridiculous for something you can paint over. They also ramped up graffiti removal, which we call buffing. As soon as a tag was put up or a piece or anything, a sticker, it was removed within like a matter of minutes these days. I mean, it's still actively being pushed in 2025 as well. So the graffiti community became a bit despondent and started to put their cans down, and because it was such a mission to do what you love, and you were constantly faced by authorities that you were like, nah, dude, I can't do this anymore. And because of that, like there was no new growth. So nothing really happened for a few years. And we felt like there was a need to make graffiti great again, especially in the Cape Town context. We always held the flag since the 80s as a very express. I mean, we were the first cities to adapt it and take it. I mean, you're obviously familiar with people like Falco and Mac One, and it was always part of like culture within Mitchell's Plain, and they had these like vibrant like events around it in the 80s and 90s, and yeah. So myself, another artist called Nordstar, and Smet, we had a little crew, and we started this thing called Writers Only. What does Writers Only symbolize? It's basically like we created like a little secret club, but out in the open, where we owned the term writer, and try to educate people about graffiti, and introduce people to graffiti, and show that there's a side of it that's like not just all about vandalism, it's about community, but we were very direct with the way we communicated this, because we wanted to be like, hey, like there's a rite of passage, so you have to be part of this community, but you can also witness it and you can experience it. And we wanted to create experiences that appealed not just to the graffiti writer, but also like public and people that are interested in it. So we basically operated on the intersection of graffiti and graffiti events. The graffiti scene was obviously, I mean, graffiti scene and graffiti events. So, I mean, the graffiti scene consisted of graffiti writers and then also enthusiasts, people that had interest, people that documented graffiti. I mean, I've met like some interesting people that didn't partake, but they documented it, took photos, videos, interview people. There was a lot of interest in it, but not a lot of access. The graffiti events were graffiti benches. One of its graffiti benches. A graffiti bench is basically people coming together, sitting down, drawing, discussing. A bench is also where happened in the 80s when they painted trains, and people came together, sat on a bench to take pictures of their trains, and it was also a space where information was shared, disseminated, and sharing the love for graffiti. I mean, there's park jams where people came together, usually in a park setting where there's wall space, and they all painted their names and had a good day. But basically had a good day. And then graffiti battles, which is like a bit more like the sportification of graffiti, where people like painted to on a competitive level. So yeah, So, I mean, we were basically a platform that aimed to promote graffiti as a positive discipline through culture. Essentially, that's what Writers Only was, is. So this was our first event, and we were very like strategic with what we did in order to like create the experience on an authentic, like in terms of authenticity. And our first event happened in 2019, I think it was August. And we had a chat with House of H at House of H, and he was like, "Yo," he was very supportive of like graffiti and street art, and I mean, there's murals all over his building, and we thought like he was like, "Yo, you could use our parking lot," and that was like perfect because it created this like underground like feeling, or like basically you joining us to go on a painting mission, you know. So yeah, it's we wanted it to be a bit grimy. We had battles, of course, so it was like letter battles, character battles, and then like a few other things on the side. I'll just show you a little video, a little recap video to get you a feel for it. So yeah, that basically gives you an idea of what it was about. I mean, we even made little like trophies for the end. We got prizes that we distributed to the winners. The winners were chosen by 5 judges. Yeah, it was a vibe. It actually was a lot more successful than we thought it would. We had a like good turnout, and yeah, that was our first event. Um, yeah, yeah, technical difficulties. Sorry. Yeah. Sorry. Okay. Branding was also like quite important with this. The We were quite intentional with the style and the voice that we had. We didn't want to treat it like a grimy like event. These are the next events after our basement battle. We also named every single event, so it wasn't like like, oh, the battle. But I mean, the next thing was the super fine park jam, and then burners only park jam. But we wanted to treat it like a museum show, and like in this was more me like trying to push a language that was kind of unexpected and put graffiti more on a pedestal. And I felt like uh, you were kind of like being talking down on people when it was like just like paint splatters and blah blah blah. So just created a bit more like a bit of a refresh and gave graffiti a bit of a rebrand. I think it was just so tired of being seen the same way. Yeah, and here's just some images from the park jam. The reason why I put these two guys on the left here, the top one's Mac One and the other one is Wheels, right? They're seen as like pioneers in graffiti, and when they started coming to our jams and like giving their like cosign, it really meant a lot because it felt like we were doing things the right way. And yeah, I mean, the vibe was cool. We also worked with communities. All of our events and our, I mean, wasn't we didn't get permits for these things, right? We worked with the communities. So we were usually painting parks where it was like gang infested, drug infested, and we a lot of the community members came to us and said thank you for like doing this and changing the face of these parks. And we were painting over like gang tags and things like that, so we gave the parks new life, and like the kids were excited, so that also gave us like great joy. And then obviously COVID struck, I mean, 2020, and we were locked down and we were like, geez, what do we do now? We can't get together. We can't shake hands. We can't, there's restrictions. What do we do? Like, is this the end? I mean, everyone experienced it and it was kind of like, oh, is this the end of the world? For us, it was like, is this the end of Writers Only? We've only been operating for like 4 or 5 months and like already yeah. So what we basically did was we doubled down on like social media and we used our Instagram account for our little weird online events where we had like these challenges every single week, whether it's like painting a piece in a certain style, utilizing cracks, painting characters, using just bubble letters, alphabet challenges, and we got the community actively involved, and it became our weird little focus group for a few months, and people shared like what they loved, what they hated. We got such a lot of insight in this time. We also like shared everyone's submissions. So there was like usually there's this rite of passage, but I mean we had like 8-year-olds sending us stuff, and we're like, cool, we'll share it. I think like it just brought a lot more excitement into it as well, even though we were all stuck in our houses. Like just having events or like just sharing content made people hyped. And when things started opening up again, we started doing battles again. And I mean, this was one of the first battles. We called it the spray right budget battle. The reason why it was a budget battle is because we didn't really have money to bankroll all this stuff. So we used like 3 colors to for writers to battle each other. Probably wondering how did it work? It was basically 2 writers battled at the same time. They got equal wall space, same amount of paint. It was usually like roller paint, so it was a bit cheaper, and that's why I call it budget battle. Gave the same letter combination. We filmed it, the paintings, and made a time lapse, and then put it on our Instagram and allowed our users to vote. And we put the power in their hands for a change. That was one of the big things. They were like, oh, you can't have judges for this. So we're like, cool, you're the judges. And yeah, there was like a lot of like, it was received well because we made graffiti democratic, and which was like never democratic, yeah, here's just an example of like the time lapses. We got a lot of engagement. I mean, even if it's like 12 comments, it was a lot for us, for a community that's like consists of like 50 people. Also, the public started to get involved, and we got loads of DMs of people just being like, that guy shouldn't have won, this guy should have. So, I mean, there was a bit of discourse through these things, and I mean, that's the nature of anything when it's competitive. So, yeah, when things opened up a bit, I mean, we 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 had our first like battle where we could get together again. It was a very, very liberating experience, and we felt it's fitting to just put it in a hand sanitizer bottle as the flyer. Yeah, we were free from everything, and it's just a little. So no, our big thing also was with these battles, the video was a big thing. So we always documented everything through video. We also documented it through images. There's always good recaps so that people could experience it if they haven't attended as well. All of the battles were judged once again online, similar mechanism where we had polls on our Instagram stories and a limited time to vote. So we always had like inclusion with try to have inclusion with everything that we've done. And then I mean there was okay. We then had an opportunity where we could make graffiti for good. We got approached by Open Society Foundation for South Africa, and they had a COVID awareness campaign, and they wanted to do this through murals and through community inclusion. So just to break the project down, we had to create like spread positivity like in a big way, and obviously through murals. We had three strategic sites, and we had three artists that we had to find that were appropriate for these murals. We ran workshops with the communities involved, and I'll just show you what we created. So the first artist was Conform, and the site was in Lavender Hill. And yeah, well, the community came up with the message was the core message was appreciate life. We used characters from the community, and we let the artist interpret the message the way they wanted. We were very lucky that like Open Society Foundation was cool with the idea of us like creating murals that last longer than COVID, because I mean we knew it was like not going to last forever. We wanted to give hope to it, and like instead of like having a weird message on the wall where you're like, hey, wash your hands, but hey, we don't need to wash our hands anymore. So just murals with like longevity pretty much. Reason why we chose Conform, he paints very quickly, and we were painting like this mural in like the hornet's nest, where gang activity happened all the time, and he blasted this out in one day, which was amazing. So we had to think about processes as well, especially the where we're painting and how we're going to get it done for the safety of everyone at the same time. So yeah, nothing happened, thankfully, but the community were here. They were so appreciative. I mean, we had hundreds of people just standing around watching him paint. It was a really cool experience. Also, with these projects, it wasn't as strongly graffiti based. We had to like pivot a bit more into like street art, because the user wasn't now they weren't graffiti writers anymore. It was community members. It was like ordinary people, and the age group was like quite broad. So we needed to paint things that appeal to everyone pretty much. Um, the second mural was Dara Kanisa, and this was in Langa. Um, Dara Kanisa is a contemporary artist, and we gave them a platform to express themselves in a mural. We know Dara quite well, and they were like super keen on doing it. And the whole concept of this one was, without the support of the friends, we wouldn't have gotten through COVID, and specifically on like that support was given through social media. Then that's why this was in the form of an Instagram post. And then the last one, which was like probably the most ambitious one out of the lot, was Nordstar. She painted a 200 square meter silo in Philippi. Um, and yeah, this one took about 8 months to just like get off the ground. There was a lot of admin. Yeah, we got permits for all of these things, so we weren't operating like we normally would. So we had to get sign off from government and obviously all the organizations that were involved. Philippi Village was involved there as well. They offered this to us. And then we had to navigate around things like weather, safety, all of those things, because painting this was quite a hectic thing. And I'll just show you a video. Um, So I mean, that mural was pretty much something that we wanted to also like live forever. And instead of like focusing on the downsides of COVID or like making people depressed, we wanted to give messages of hope. And I think that one is a perfect example because we didn't put any masks on there, and like people, like the organization was like, "Dude, like, where's the masks?" And we are like, "It's super depressing." And the community was talking about the spirit of Ubuntu. So we were like looking into the future and not where we were at that time. And I feel like this one is like super powerful because of that approach. So yeah, please don't play again video. Uh, in conclusion, sorry about my technical difficulty with videos. Yeah, it was basically these 4 points that are, which is the user over everything, real recognize real, there's power in community, and the bad can be good when we learn how to channel it in the right way. So yeah, thank you very much. Thank you for this platform. Thank you for your attention. I think it's the most valuable asset these days, our attention. So I'm really appreciative. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you so much for that. Really, really appreciated that. And I think maybe just to expand on, so we asked Quasiem to do the talk because although the event focuses a lot on design, experience design, UX design, HD, etc., etc., in this digital space, and talks are facilitated in respect to that. UX is all around us, and it's in everything that we do. And I always felt that there's a strong uh, idea of UX in relation to graffiti, and Quasiem was the perfect person to facilitate that message. So, Quasiem, thank you so much for that. We have two questions so far. Um, First one is from Shaima. What is your next project that you're working on?
Um, I am, well, full disclosure, yeah, I am not that actively involved in writers only anymore. So I don't do a lot of like, um, I'm not that involved in graffiti at the moment. I work a lot with NPOs and things like that, and I work as a freelance designer. Yeah, so it's not in that realm anymore. It's more so as an independent creative. So yeah, um, in 2022, my son came, and I was just talking to Iggy about this before my talk. Um, I needed to make the decision. Like a lot of these things, especially happen on my personal capacity. So I was working as a full-time designer, illustrator, and writers only. So when my son came, I had to like, that was my new project, and so that's what I'm working on the most is being dad mode 5000, which is giving me great joy, as cheesy as that is. And But yeah, that's my biggest project at the moment is my family. So yeah, and then secondary is obviously like work, corporate work. Yeah, I don't know if that's the answer you're expecting, but yeah, that's where
Uh,
I'm at right now.
the next question that we've got from Taneo. How did you work well with these communities that you weren't a part of? How did you get in touch with the correct people?
We usually worked with people working on the ground. So, like in Lavender Hill, we worked with New World Foundation, which is an organization that understands and works with the community every single day. And they gave us the insight and they gave us the access to the right community members. We would work with community groups as well. For instance, in Langa, we worked with Gugu Setebe, and we had to get permission from everyone in Langa, which was amazing. It was such a great experience. We had to immerse ourselves for like, so that those projects were like 3, 4 months, 5 months long between each one, pretty much. A lot of the times we're working at the same time, but we needed to understand what was going on before we could just go, and go wild and paint whatever we wanted to. We needed sign off from everyone in the community as well. I had to speak to the elders in Langa, beautiful, amazing people. So it was a beautiful experience for me as well. It's just like that part I really enjoyed. Having to create something but with purpose. Yes, writers only had purpose, but like I think when you have to work with communities, there are so many like there's so much inclusion, like so much more inclusion. And yeah, we basically used community organizations and community forums and all of those things before we could go ahead for anything pretty much.
Uh, just checking if there are any other questions before we conclude with Quasiem. Um, Quasiem, I just wanted to check. So there was a comment earlier from, yeah, Tanea. She said, while, because you were speaking in context at the time, so the comment is in respect to that context. While given the fact that there are literally tours in Cape Town to see the graffiti in
Mhm.
areas like Observatory, what's your take on those graffiti tours, and um, does it garner the value that you think it should, or do you think there's a greater message that should be facilitated by those tours?
I don't see anything wrong with it. Like I feel like we living in a country that has a 60% unemployment rate, or more than 60% or something like that, right? And I feel like if you can get your bread, get it however you want it. You know what I'm saying? Like, but the thing I mean, I live in a community that's affected by tours, right? And the thing that annoys me the most is um, these tour guides and the tour groups. They don't respect the culture of the communities. I think that needs to be pushed more, is the fact that like, hey, people live in these houses that you like surrounding. I mean, I painted something last year in Bookap, right? And I was on a roof, and just seeing people like go on people's private property to take photos was wild to me. And that happens here in Salt River and Orbs and everywhere in Woodstock as well. People live here, so respect that. Do you know what I'm saying? Other than that, I don't have any gripes with it. I think it should be used more for tourism. And I think the city of Cape Town, they're kind of stupid because there's an economy for these things. And by painting over this expression and it's like, I mean, Salter was covered in graffiti. And like you look at places like Melbourne, that it's a way to like bring in more tourism, and we fighting it. We're not embracing it. I feel like it needs to be celebrated more. And these tours do celebrate it, and it does I just think it also needs to be the right people like implementing this, because I mean there were organizations that did things here in Salt River, but it was geared towards gentrification. I won't mention names, but there are those things. So I mean, I think when community and culture is respected, I'm all for it. But when it's not, I'm like, come on, guys, like get it together.
Yeah, yeah, no, I agree. Um, I don't see any more questions.
Cool.
Um, so we'll conclude. Qasim, again, thank you so much for that amazing and insightful talk. Again, I'll just